welcome all of you on this last Friday before Diwali. Very happy to have all of you here on this for this very important topic, the Great Resignation. What's causing it? Is it really happening in India at the same scale? How do we solve it? How does it really change workforce? To have this very interesting discussion, we have a super panel ahead of us, which will be followed by a fireside chat with Sushant Dwivedi from SHL. And before we get to Sushant, let me quickly introduce the panel to you. We have with us Vishpala Reddy, who is the CHRO of Philips Indian Subcontinent. Welcome, Vishpala.
Thank you. Thanks, Parul.
We also have with us Suneet Besbarua, who is the Indian Marketing Director for Indian Subcontinent, for India at Boston Consulting Group. Welcome, Suneet.
Hello.
We also have with us Prashant Nanda, who's a senior journalist in fact, a very senior journalist, writing on the education workforce ecosystem. So really expecting to hear from him on what he's actually seen at the ground level, what's happening. Welcome, Prashant.
Hey, thank you so much, Parul, for inviting me.
And last but not the least, we have with us Shubhreet Kaur, who is the Director for Creative Services at Hill & Knowlton Strategies and also a very prominent influencer in her own right. Welcome, Shubhreet.
Parul, thanks so much.
So here we go. Before we start the conversation with the panel, and of course, we'll be coming to Sushant Dwivedi later after the panel discussion. Sushant is the Managing Director for India and Philippines of SHL. Shubhreet, can you set the context of the conversation today? Why the Great Resignation? Why today?
It's a very interesting topic, but what we're, seeing is that as life under COVID pandemic is entering a new transition, offices are opening up, people are starting to go out again, life is sort of opening up again. We can see employees have started rethinking what they want out of their jobs. So while on the surface, it might seem like a debate on whether they want to work in person, whether they want to work remotely or in a hybrid model, I think the issues that are driving the Great Resignation run much deeper, into the culture of the company, how every employee perceives it and absorbs it. And bridging that gap is becoming extremely crucial and has made the role of internal communications extremely crucial. So it can be the difference between attrition and retention. So as to say, we are seeing a lot of companies facing high attrition rates and they're trying to actually just hold on to it and not let it increase further. We can see in industries like tech, where every person has at least 4 to 5 job offers at hand. In journalism, when I started off as a journalist, we used to say, our bosses used to tell us that it's 40% what you do and 60% how you communicate it. And in the last 4-5 years, the way people communicate and consume any information has changed drastically. So as we go into 2022 with the transition coming in, and as hybrid working models come into place with each employee's ecosystem, their personal ecosystem being very different, it will be even more crucial to put effective employee comms into place. And this is where leadership, HR functions and internal communications would really need to work together, since they engage with the same audience in order to hopefully convert the Great Resignation into, the Great Retention.
Thank you so much. That's a really, really good summary of why we need to do what we need to do. People are still joining in. So welcome to all those who have just joined in. I can see Amandeep from MobiQuick has joined in and many other people. Welcome, guys. So I'm going to come to Vishpala first. Vishpala, there's been all this US labor data talking about the Great Resignation and the extent to which the issue is being faced. What is this trend in India?
Yeah, obviously, like while we have a lot more data in the US, I think at a very macro level, right, Parul and Shubhreet, I think what Shubhreet just shared, I think like attrition is increasing in India, right? Like at least the data that I have access to. Now, I would probably say, and this is a personal view, this is obviously not a view probably my co-panelists would share. I don't know if India is yet in the phase of the Great Resignation. So I think we're seeing higher attrition, but is it really the Great Resignation? Because I would counter it by saying that we were in the midst of a pandemic. I think like India always had high attrition. We had like this 18 months of quiet and solace. I do think employee demographics and needs are absolutely changing, right? That goes without saying. But also what's fueling this is just the demand and supply. So if you look at the growth story of India, like whether it's Make in India, whether it's like, all the amazing work that happens here, companies are genuinely on that growth path. So as a result of which, there are tons of offers out there for lots of employees who want to make that sort of shift. So I would say it's more a demand and supply play, Parul, but yet I think there's this changing need. So today it's extremely real. If you want to work in, say, a small town city and you want to work completely remote, and I do think that we in India are kind of facing that, and we have to address that. So that's where this whole hybrid working, flexible working probably kind of comes in as well. So that's just my probably personal perspective.
Thank you. I think what you're saying is, and it's interesting to know that there is not exactly the same story which is rolling out. Of course, you did point out that the availability of macro data is not at the scale which the US has, the labor data that they possess. I'm going to come next to Suneet to ask his view on this. Do you think it's a question of demand and supply, which is availability of more jobs, and what do you feel that the role of empathy and listening has really gone up in this space?
A great question. First of all, I would think, Parul, that it is somewhere related to demand and supply. And I think what I've been seeing, at least in the last 1 year, and with the movement of people everywhere in all kind of industries and jobs, there has been an uptick in terms of the job opportunities. Okay, now having said that, I think as leaders navigate this new reality or navigate the future of work, I would think two challenges or two ways of balancing this would be: one is to understand how to understand the operational challenges. Even if you're getting people back to work, how do you do that? And second, find out innovative ways to engage the talent or retain talent, even if there is an attrition happening. So we need to find out innovative models to retain talent. So I think those will be my two first views here.
I think that's a great point about the models, and we'll come back and discuss that much more. I'm going to take the conversation over to Prashant and ask him to put on his journalist lens on this. What is your perspective on this issue, reporting on, as like you said, the education workforce skilling ecosystem? Do you agree with what Vishpala and Suneet said, that it's not playing out exactly the same way in India?
See, Parul, before I start, let me give a bit of context, because this is a discussion about Great Resignation, and we must give due to Anthony Claus, the Associate Professor of Management at Texas A&M University, who actually formulated this idea in May 2021 during one of his interactions with Bloomberg Businessweek. So let me start by giving credit to Anthony. That what he has done is we are debating right now. The question is, yes, and we are seeing a great resignation, but is it as great as what US is observing? I don't think it is that situation. I think my co-panelist has already suggested. But if you look at Indian economy, which is a large economy and a larger labor market, it is a reality in India. It is playing out in sectors, if not across labor market, because it is happening in sectors which have seen huge traction due to the pandemic. For example, IT, ITS, segments of BFSI, the education sector, the healthcare are some of the sectors in which we are seeing a huge amount of churning happening. And look at the big players in the technology space. The attrition rate is between 12% to 33%. 33%, 1 out of every 3 is going out. That's insane. It's like a huge. Look at the Microsoft 2021 Work Trend Index. What it is saying? It is saying 41% of global workforce are considering resigning this year. So if they are resigning, they must be going somewhere, I'm sure. They're not resigning and staying at home. And the salary increase in the compensation survey by a leading consultancy company says that India is facing an attrition rate of almost 20% across board. It is one of the highest in at least 5 to 6 years. Someone may argue that whether these are voluntary attritions or involuntary. The answer to that is, from my experience, is a lion's share of it is voluntary. It means people are actually quitting, then being laid off, at least for now.
Thank you, Prashant.
But see, I'll end by the initial. I'll end the initial remark with the sentence. There are 3 key factors that is driving this big resignation. One is a growth in compensation. Second is burnout. Second is the flexibility of the work from home. So this is how I will perhaps sum up my initial thought. As we progress in the panel, we will discuss each of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So just to share, Prashant, your connection went out for a little while. So just to share, if you feel your connection is not working, you can switch off the video if you feel it's not working. So there was a small moment we lost you, and we don't want to do that because your points are very important for us. Having said that, I'm going to take the discussion from what Prashant said over to Vishpala, Suneet, and Shubhreet. What is the point that he made is about compensation and not wanting to go back to the same work situation, but they are going somewhere. He doesn't believe they're all sitting at home, which is different from again what the US data said, that people are not, some of them are not choosing to. So what are your this question is to the entire panel. What do you think is happening in this situation, and how can the corporate sector deal with this issue of compensation? What kind of pressure does it add to the company, and for not only compensation but work processes? Maybe Suneet, you'd like to take that question first, and Vishpala and Shubhreet, and back to Prashant.
Sure. So I would focus a little bit away from the compensation. So I would say if there is a war on winning talent, I would think three things that is integral at this point of time to look at from an organization point of view. One is that flex hours is no longer a perk. It's a philosophy now. It's more like a process now that needs to be embedded. It's not about flexible location. It's more about flexible hours. So I think that needs to be embedded. The second is from an infrastructure point of view. How ready are organizations in terms of having strong digital infrastructure so as to ensure that they have the right kind of platforms, they have the right kind of facilitations to ensure work happens seamlessly. And the third is how do you ensure maximum DEI component, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion component as a core competency to ensure that you retain and you attract the right kind of talent. So I think these 3 points I would think is very critical from an organization point of view to retain and attract talent.
Thank you so much. I think especially the point you made about inclusion is very important because in the bigger priority of making the wheels run and keep them well oiled, perhaps gender inclusion and other kinds of inclusion, LGBTQAI, all those can get ignored. So Vishpala and then Shubhreet, what are your views on this?
I think, Parul, for me, this is really, if I were to coin a term, it's the great opportunity, not the great resignation. I keep saying that, right? So today, if you're an employee, irrespective of gender, man, woman, either ways, right? It's about what you want to do. So I think companies are talking about here's the growth or here's the interesting role. That becomes your driver, right? Then you get into the personal aspirations of location, around flexibility. So I think employees are just kind of choosing basis what they want, and that's probably what's becoming real. So I don't think it's just compensation. Of course, I would say that there are organizations who are looking at ring fencing their top talent to say, hey, before I let this person walk out of the door, can we at least reiterate and tell them you are valued, or here is your sort of career path, or here is what makes it work for you. So I think that is happening. So it's a very interesting moment, I would say, for organizations, but more importantly, I would say employees out there to kind of, leverage this opportunity. So yeah, it's just that. I don't think it's they're quitting because they're unhappy. That's my view, right? Of course, there is a small segment, and I think that will evolve over the next few months as we get into next year, which will become more dominant. Because today, I think we're in this phase where many organizations are open. There are some organizations that are just about starting to open, like especially some of the multinationals. And I think this is the important cusp of employees are looking to say, will this flexibility continue, or will this really work for me in the future? So there are people who may make that decisions a bit more prominently as we get into it. I think the last piece is that we haven't had, I think while I've seen that attrition rates are going up, for the last 2 years, we've had the benefit of low attrition rates. So look at it that way, right? So if there was a person who was looking at making a change and bam, here comes the lockdown. They just put it away, and now they're just probably renewing their focus to do that. So I wouldn't be extra worried. And as an HR person, I shouldn't be saying that. I think we're all cautious. We're all monitoring the situation. And I think it's important to continue to engage and retain your workforce. Simple.
Thank you, Vishpala. Over to Shubhreet now. What are your views from a communicator's angle? What does that mean for communicators?
So I'm quite in line with what Suneet said and even what Vishpala said in terms of that, this also presents an opportunity for organizations to be able to retain the right kind of talent if tackled the right way. And, so what organizations really need to do is start asking why, or if an employee would want to leave, why would they want to leave? And it definitely, in my opinion as well, is not due to perks or salaries, because those are now a given. They're a starting point. As Suneet also mentioned, said even the flexibility to work from home is no longer a perk. That's just something we expect. And most employees, given that overall the market is going to give you location agnostic options, you will probably take on something else that gives you the flexibility. A working mom might say, is there an organization that either expects me to come to office every day, but then do you have a system with a daycare close to office where I can leave my child at? If not, I'm going to go somewhere else that lets me work from home. So these are just simple factors, again tying back to the ecosystem of every employee, because as the transition happens, I don't think the old way of working is coming back. And if companies mishandle the transition to this hybrid working environment, it could prompt even satisfied employees to look for more options, because let's face it, the demand is higher than supply. So what, from a communication angle, I think, top down communication, when done in a traditional or conventional manner, doesn't allow you to know what employees really feel or if they feel heard. Same way, coming the other way around, employees do not completely gauge the initiatives or changes which, with good intentions, company might be making for their benefit if it isn't effectively translated to them. So employee experience really has to be woven into the internal comm system to embed the positive changes to the bottom line. We at HK have been seeing a definite increase in the request for proposals that we are getting for employee comms. And employee comms are now, if not more, then equally important as how external communications are. And hence, at our strategy around building our internal comms offering from a complete 360-degree perspective, which includes initiative, events, even creatives or videos, to make sure that the whole organization is coming together, but also keeping in mind that it's still a work from home or a hybrid system, but you can continue to build that connect and let the employee know where the organization is for them. What is it doing for them? So we really believe that effective internal communication will allow employees to integrate, be fully involved, remain informed about the company that they work for, and it plays a key part in the success and eventually then the company's success as well.
That's good to know, because Sure, Suneet, please
come in here. No, I really like what Vishpala said earlier about it being the great opportunity, and I completely second what Shubhreet also just said. And going back to, I think the question that you asked me, I missed out on answering, is this whole empathy part. I think it's a great opportunity for organizations to show their empathetic side. Even if they have been doing great, continue doing it. Even if they haven't, it's a great opportunity to do so now. And I completely agree. In terms of the communications, it has to be top down from the leadership. And I know for a fact from my peers working in other organizations at this point of time, organizations have really redefined their internal communications program. It has been a lot more of leadership connects, with people, so as to just ensure that there's no barrier and they really understand people's needs, people's requirements at this point of time, how they need to behave and operate. So I think I completely agree. Great points.
Just to quickly add to what Suneet said, because he's very spot on with that. Adam Grant, in his recent article in WSG, also said that this movement or shift we're seeing, which again in India is probably not as extreme as it is in the US, but something is still happening. It's not like a dash away from office, but it's a culmination of a long march towards freedom. That's the statement that he made. And what we need to understand is, when employees ask for flexibility to work or a hybrid working environment, or they want these certain comforts which weren't there before, it's very important for organizations to understand that it's not that people don't want to work, but that they value net freedom over net worth. So now the whole environment is changing, and that is something organizations need to translate, that we, from the top down, as Suneet also mentioned, that we understand it, we'll put the right systems in place and then communicate those systems effectively to the employees.
I think those are great points raised by Suneet and Shubhreet. And internal comms, which was for so long, the much maligned stepsister of communications, is now probably becoming Cinderella at the ball. So that's also an important shift which is taking place. I'd like to come back to Prashant. Now, Prashant, you mentioned specific sectors which include IT and healthcare, which are seeing a lot of attrition. And since you do cover, the education workforce skilling ecosystem, do you think that this is a time of reckoning for the way we educate and skill our workforce as well? Is that also showing up? Sorry, you're on mute.
I just want to reiterate one thing. While I agree with most of the points my panelist has said, what we cannot wish away is that Indian economy, especially the Indian labor market, has struggled for last 4 to 5 years. If you look at from 2016 onwards, in the employee growth perspective point of view, or even in the corporate's growth point of view, we have several hurdles. What are the several hurdles we have seen from the demand, then GST, then we have a great pandemic that we are undergoing. So we have a pull and push factor from the employee side as the employer side. So that growth or the pent up demand, the demand to go away or to look for a new job, as Vishpala was saying that for 18, 20 months, there is very low attrition. So suddenly the economy is opening up. So there is new opportunities, new sectors are emerging. Why IT is happening, before I come to your question, is or IT linked sectors are showing a lot of attrition or opportunity, whatever you want to call it, because digital or the IT has no more a specific one sector. It is now sector across sectors. It is now as a vertical as well as a horizontal sector. You need it in health, you need it in education, you need it in tech, you need it in banks and everywhere. You simply need, I think these days the home hunting is happening more online. The job search is happening more online. So the technology has become a big factor. So IT and ITES, that's the reason why it is driving that. Somehow we are getting carried away by this resignation from the IT sector without realizing that Indian labor market is not IT sector. It is 500 million workforce, and we are talking just about the 15 to 20% of it. So we will go to that point. When you talked about the education sector, see that the resignations or the opportunities are increasingly happening in the mid-tier segment, and the replacements are happening in the lower rung or the initial stage. You look at the big hiring happening in the technology space. They are hiring big numbers at the campus level, freshers hiring, young hiring, but not at the mid-tier. Why mid-tier is the resignation is happening in the mid-tier? Because companies know in a difficult time like this, a mid-level professional is a more tested bet than a fresher. So that is why they're taking away the mid-tier talent to establish something new, because that guy knows, that person knows about the product, that knows about the subject, he knows about the market. So there is a certain amount of understanding of that person. So that train and make the two hands work is not there. So let's accept that. You talk about the education and skilling. I do not think education and skilling right now is playing a big part in what we are discussing. Education and skilling has a huge role in how our productivity and employment market shapes up. It was there before pandemic. It is during pandemic, and it will continue to be after the pandemic. The only thing is that since the new and emerging areas are opening up in almost in all companies, people will be very conscious, especially people like Vishpala will be very conscious about what she is looking to hire and where is the growth. If she is saying that I need 10 data scientists, she'll certainly go and pay data scientists more and hire them. And she may not be going for the what I say conveyor belt kind of jobs, that is the routine jobs. That routine jobs are getting redundant, most probably because of technology post-pandemic. So those things, because the new sectors are emerging, you will see education and the skilling ecosystem, whether it is reskilling, upskilling, or whatever you call it, that will continue to increase. That is why you are seeing a lot of education technology companies are also shaping up in a big way. Whether they will survive post-pandemic in this fashion with this speed is a different debate. But yes, one, definitely the pent-up demand, the pent-up desire. Two, the specific requirement of companies. Three, readjustment of companies and talent need. Four, there is a growing vertical in each company which will drive the market. and the revenue as well. So specific hiring as well.
Thanks, Prashant. Those are absolutely wonderful points and set the context. And I'd like to take some of the points over to Vishpala because it ties in with some of the discussion we had before we got on this panel, and specifically the point he made about mid-tier actually not they are being not pampered is the wrong word, but being looked at. And you had made this point even that you're not seeing resignations only in mid-tier like you're seeing in the US. And my second question to you then in that case was you had also talked about upskilling and how people have used this time to upskill. And so therefore a very different kind of candidate is entering the market. Over to you and then to Shubhrit and Suneet for a comment on the same issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think Parul, again, as I said, that I don't think it's a specific level that we're seeing people who are leaving, right? And the simple thing is, and you have people from other companies here, I think the largest challenge today is that for the recruiting team. So today when we're trying to hire people, like Prashant just said, like for specific sort of skills, and I would say not even like only the niche skills, but if you look at across the organization, the offer drop ratio has actually climbed, which again kind of indicates that even before a person has kind of joined, they have multiple options that they're evaluating, and as a result of which they're probably dropping. And we see this again across locations, across levels. So it's probably across the different organization. And I think the second bit, and just refresh, Parul, what was your second question? One was around, is it happening across? And what was the second question?
It's related to what you just said, that the candidates coming in have used this pandemic time to upskill, which also goes to Prashant's point about the availability of EdTech to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good thing. A lot of people, I think, are also aspiring to do different roles, right? So if you looked at the core pandemic period, right, tons of companies and tons of employees have invested in self-development, where if the industry was kind of shut down, or if like you don't have a role currently in the organization, so lots of people have invested in probably upskilling what they could do. But having said that, again, it goes a little bit to what Prashant said. Today, when companies are hiring, they're hiring again some of those sort of niche skills for sure. So if you're going to go into the market to try to get people in the data science, in the AI world, there are tons of organizations who are going after the talent. So again, it goes back to my comment on demand and supply. So I think the upskilling is happening, but that's always incremental, right? In a short period of 6 months, you can't really go from here to here. You can go from here to here, right? So I think it's both in play, and that's why I said there is the demand and supply is the overarching piece. People trying to upskill is to how do you build and navigate your career and try to probably move across and leverage these sort of opportunities. At least that's what I think.
Thanks, Vishpala. I'd like to take it over to Shubhrit first and then Suneet. Shubhrit, what does this mean for channels of communication? It's thrown up so many complex issues, what Prashant and Vishpala said. What does it mean to communicate to the middle tier when you have so many different generations now in the same company? What does it mean for channels of communication?
So I think, like even Vishpala said that, people have used this time to upscale and they're looking to come back. Another interesting angle that I want to bring over here in terms of what people coming back is we had seen that a lot of the women workforce had quit during the lockdowns, during the COVID period, because the responsibilities at home had increased and they are looking to come back as well. And obviously, when you come back after a break, you want to look for the best opportunity, you want to prove yourself. So there's a very motivated segment that's coming back over here. But at the same time, people are being selective. As the transition take place, employees will be looking for a semblance of normalcy, whereas employers are looking to ramp up operations, right? Because we've had a low or a dull period during the last 2 years. But the two will not go hand in hand unless it's handled really well. Because employee well-being and human aspects of work cannot be an afterthought now when this hiring process takes place when people come back to office, no matter at what level we are. I think in our initial discussions with Sushant, and he will, during his special segment, will probably also touch upon it, that they are seeing some attrition rates in some sectors, even at slightly top level management. I think he had mentioned something like that. So we will have to look at it at all levels, at all tiers of an organization. And it has to come first and it has to be clearly communicated to the employees as well. So as, we are in a day and age where when an employee is looking to join a company, now they go first on your Instagram and Twitter to figure out what the culture of the company or the vibe of the company is before they go to the website to look at the mission statement or the purpose. But that is how important culture, what are your future relation ties with the manager that you're reporting to, with the team that you will be working with, have become. So it is equally important to them as much as your pay, your opportunity, and your growth plan. So they want a future growth in the company, but they also want it in the right kind of environment. So a system or structure where clear communication on the same with access and resources has to be set in place with goals and expectations which are aligned on both fronts, on the employer's front and the employee's front. Clear messaging to help lower the stress levels of your employees, empowering them that they're comfortable reaching out when they need support. Like Suneet had earlier mentioned that, we need to show empathy, and we need to show that you can come to us to talk. Employees need to be able to showcase that. So whether it is through employee assistance programs or feedback channels or a social media forum or internal apps, it is important to regularly place well-being, open communication, culture, plus the opportunities, growth plans, upskilling opportunities within the organization, and to constantly monitor this data to know if it's having effect or not. So hence, surveys should be happening, team building exercises should be happening when you're getting new employees, and induction processes in the right place. So it is important to keep all of this up from a comms perspective, because as people are coming in, not just demand is high, but there's also chunks of workforce that are looking to come in, but they will be selective about what they take up. From the feedback that we discuss with people now, we also get a chance that people are willing to wait a couple of months extra to get the right kind of job than jump into something that they're not completely convinced with. And the convincing factors tend to be these. They tend to be the culture, the growth opportunity, the relationship ties that they will be making. So yeah, that's what I think.
Thanks, Subhreet. That's really clearly put. I'd like to take it over to Suneet now before we go in for a final round of comments and then into Q&A. Suneet, schools are opening up from 1st November in Delhi across all ages. That again adds a different perspective and pressure on the workforce, including especially the women, but also including the entire family. Keeping that in mind, I'd like your comment on the entire gender inclusion piece. And BCG has done quite a lot of good work around that. If you could share some of the examples from BCG about how you're supporting the workforce.
Thanks, Arul. See, unfortunately, I don't have an India number, but US apparently, and this is from a survey which was done by Future Forum in June 2021. 500,000 women had left their jobs during the pandemic, more than men. 500,000 more women, more than men, had left their jobs during the pandemic, owing to pressure at home. Or burnout and everything. So of course there has been a very big it's been a very big challenge for women, as we all know. Well, from an organization point of view, and I would think not only BCG but a lot of other organizations at this point of the time are doing the same, particularly to retain women workforce. But I could definitely call out some that is happening in our organization. One is something called the Back to Home program, which is essentially women who have left BCG 5 years and above. We are calling them back to kind of come back and join our workforce in tech roles, particularly because that's where we see they can play a very significant role. There's a lot of flex opportunities that we are giving. In fact, in 2021, there have been almost more than 100 opportunities that we have given in terms of working as part-time jobs within BCG. Apart from that, there's been a lot of the LGBTQ programs that we run very, very actively here in BCG, and also in terms of maternity benefits, we encourage a lot of women to come back to work, after the maternity is over, and that is something that we really encourage. Just one last point is about, we have something called the Me Day, which has been given so far, I think twice or thrice. And Me Day is completely logging off from your laptops, from your phone calls, managers. Nobody calls you up. It's completely a day that's dedicated to yourself and spending time with your team and your family. So some of these initiatives we have been doing. There's also something called the Let's Talk initiative, which is essentially around dealing with psychological or mental health issues, which is again something that is very, very pronounced at this point of time, particularly for women So I think that's also been something that's very, very popular in our organization.
Thank you so much, Suneet. I'm going to, come to for final comments from everybody before we launch for Q&A, and then we have Sushant waiting for us, who's going to really give us a deep dive into the workforce challenges and how to solve them. So, simple question for the entire panel, starting with Vishpala. So, we have discussed a lot about the reasons, the channels, what's happening, what's not happening. What is your top suggestion for handling this? The great resignation or the great opportunity?
I would say that as an employer, as an organization, is just, I would say, get to know this a little bit better, right? To your point, to say, are they drivers? Who's your top talent? What can you do to prevent it? I'm just saying, just invest that time and energy to probably proactively try to address to the extent you can. And for employees, right, on this call, I think it's about, I mean, as any, in any phase, don't make brash decisions. I think you should think through it. And at the end of the day, I always say that you should do what you love. Like at the end of the day, if it's working for you, great. If it's not working for you, make that choice. That's it.
I think that's a wonderful thing. Don't do anything in a rush. Don't rush in where angels fear to tread. And in that case, it is the looking after the employees. Over to Prashant and then Suneet and Subreet. Prashant, what is your view as a final comment on, of course, I know we are kind of trying to solve the world's problem in one podcast, but still, what do you think companies and the government can do actually, and the economy can do to address these issues? You're on mute.
Know what the government wants to do. So, but I can tell you one very important thing. The companies need to recognize that we are in for a churn. So the first thing is the recognition. And all these things will follow once you recognize कि boss ये मेरे साथ हो रहा है. So if it is, the first point is recognition. Second is how to address it. I think our panel has people who knows how organizations run and what organizations are doing. So one is talk to people like why they're going away. What something must be driving them to go away. I'm sure people who are resigning is not resigning in a hurry. There's well thought out career decisions by employees, because at the end of the day, they are also looking for their growth. I'm sure they are not looking to jump out of the balcony and say, boss, I'm doing a long jump. So I'm sure they are certainly thinking through what they are getting into, why they are getting into, and what they will get in return. And these are three very basic things in any employee-employer engagement. So if the people like the HR, the management, and all people can engage with employees, that personal engagement hasn't happened very honestly in the last 18 months, largely because we are work from home. And second point is, unless you increase this engagement in a very personal way and in a one-to-one way or a one-to-group way, then this problem or the misunderstanding will continue to increase. And as soon as anybody gets an opportunity, will jump the ship. Because if the ship is looking greener, then somebody will certainly jump. So first, recognize, talk to them. Flexibility, as Suneet said, it's a fantastic factor. It's a given. And the third point is, let's accept that going forward, gig or the flexibility at work is a reality. It will regular join and retire jobs are no more going to come back, or join and work for 5 years is a fashionable stuff. 1 year contracts, 2 year contracts, but surety of stuff. So these are the three key things that I believe need to be taken care of.
I mean, that's really talking about a very short cycle. From it had already reduced from 10 years to from 20 years to 10 to now 5, and now you're saying 1. So that is indeed a great churn. The great churn, I would say, to add to the great.
Our core labor force and the government wants this to happen, and we're promoting something called fixed term employment across sector through the 4 codes. The 4 codes are yet to be implemented, but it is one of the key factors in those 4 codes. So we are promoting it officially across sectors, just not in few sectors as it was earlier. So it's official acceptance from the government at state, at the center, of fixed term employment, which are short duration contracts, more flexibility.